What is up, everyone? What is up? We're getting started. We're gonna take a few minutes to share the link. So if you're watching right now, go ahead and share this to your friends. Today we're gonna have a special episode. We're gonna talk a little bit about this whole Scottie Pippen thing. Scottie Pippen is releasing a book. Rez, you gotta wait at least at least 2 minutes for me to get into the show before you start hammering um Pippen because he might have some reason to be mad. Anyway, this special episode of I'm gonna call it Card Chaos, but it's really a 2 minute warning episode. Focuses on Scottie Pippen and his gripes for Michael Jordan. I asked a question earlier today whether or not Scottie Pippen or Isaiah Thomas or Knicks fans or LeBron fans hate Michael Jordan more. I'll review that poll soon. But thank you for tuning in. Everyone, go ahead and share the link. So we're waiting for my co-host Jeremy. Now, Jeremy is the biggest Michael Jordan fan on the face of this planet. And oh, I got something on my mouth. Um, he he came up with this series that we're doing focusing on Michael Jordan and the book The Jordan Rules, and this is like a pre review of those incidences or the things that happened during the Jordan era to lead up into Scottie Pippen's book coming out. So recently, Scottie Pippen has said a bunch of things, and we are not sure whether or not the things that he's saying are a publicity stunt or as actual feelings. Personally, I think it's actual feelings, but it may be something for his book. So one of the things that one of the things that Pippen said recently was that he's just as good as a player as Michael Jordan. So we're gonna put that on the the board right now as an ongoing question, but I would love for um my co-host Jeremy to answer that question in the best way possible. But I'll put it up to the floor for the rest of you. Is Scottie Pippen just as good as a player um as Michael Jordan? I feel disrespectful even thinking about the question. But he said it, so the question I want everyone to kind of ponder as we go through all the reasons why Scottie Pippen is salty is he just a is was he just as good as a player as Michael Jordan? All right, so go ahead and tag your friends and really really think about this without laughing. you know Sky Pippen. So I keep putting up the wrong thing. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put this on the board while people start flowing in. Thank you, everyone that has tuned in. And I'm gonna go ahead and share the show to the rest of the wall. But yeah, again, for those of you who are tuning in, Scottie Pippen basically said that he's just as good as a player, or he was just as good as a player as Michael Jordan, and just people just focused on certain things with Jordan and overlooked him. And I was watching a podcast by one of my special co-hosts, Sharon, the other day, and Sharon mentioned something that I thought was true. It seems like Scottie Pippen feels like no one appreciated him, and this is coming from something deep because he's been retired for a while. Michael Jordan retired in the early 2000s. The championship run was in the 90s, and we're 3 decades later still talking about this. Um, 3 decades later, he's still mad about how Jordan was lauded and he wasn't. But I think that was false. I think people um did appreciate Pippen for the player he was. And what he was also wasn't he like added to the top 50 NBA players back when we started doing that? I think now we're at 75. But he was one of the people that was like added to that group. If he wasn't appreciated, I don't think that he would have even gotten that praise. Um Camille said he's miserable and lonely. So lonely, are you talking about, are you hinting at the situation with his wife? So I don't want to be a controversial person, but a few of my friends have mentioned this portion or this point about his wife, and the situations that they have. I hate talking about people's personal lives like that, but you know, the joke is that he hasn't been the same since his wife and Future connected. And I'm not going to make a comment on that, but maybe that's what the lonely part is that my friend Camille has mentioned. Other than that, um yeah, he looks a little bit frazzled also when he does his interviews. And I don't know if this is just part of the whole marketing plan. You know, people always go to the extreme to get attention, and maybe this is part of the plan, you know. He's saying a lot of things. As I mentioned, he's I don't want to say he's looking crazy because again, well, you can't say crazy. Crazy is not politically correct, but he's looking not himself, put it that way. And we need to get to the bottom of this. So let's add Jeremy in. Jeremy is coming on soon. Um and he's again the biggest Michael Jordan fan there is. I want to read some comments from the wall. Again, Camille said he complained about MJ, complained about Barkley. I bet he's complaining about his wife too, and that's why she. Oh man, maybe he's a bad teammate, and maybe that could be it. I feel like, all right. So in the Last Dance, there was a lot. Pippen was also featured as a very important teammate in that series, and a lot of people came out of that series saying that Jordan put Pippen in a bad light. And I don't think. I mean, we all saw the series, and I'm not sure if we I'm not sure where the bad part about Scottie Pippen was in that series. I think they pretty much said it like it was. He Hi Maurice. Pippen came to the Bulls. He had a lot of contract issues. He didn't get the contract that he wanted. And then um, he was very, very angry about the contracts that he signed, or the contract that was pending with the Bulls. And so a lot of the grief and a lot of the anger that Pippen had, or that was expressed in The Last Dance regarding Pippen, was around the contract. And I remember on the wall, um, in the group, welcome Jeremy, people talked about whether or not Michael Jordan could have helped Scottie Pippen get a better contract. And I was always confused by that comment. It's like saying, could your friend have negotiated your salary with your employer? what that's basically your my personal opinion is that that's your person between your agent and your manager and you. That is your engagement. That is your negotiation. But we have Jeremy here. Jeremy can talk a little bit more about that the situation with Pippen's contract and whether or not you think Pippen has the right to be angry at Michael Jordan for even that.
Oh, I've been chomping at the bit all day for this.
Welcome,
Channel
Jeremy.
my welcome. How's everyone doing? Yes, straight to it. Scottie Pippen has only Scottie Pippen to blame as far as that contract. Jordan had nothing to do with that. That was between, like I stated last week, that was between Jerry Krause, Jerry Reinsdorf, and Scottie Pippen and his agent. Now, I believe Horace Grant had signed his contract extension first before Pippen. And when Chicago was making their movements during the '90 off season, Scotty just before the training camp said he decided that he was going to sit out. And he saw the idea, so he was hiding in a hotel somewhere, I believe in what was it, Arkansas, I think, or North Carolina. I can't remember. It was one of them states where he just was there for like what 2 days. His agent got him to come up to report to training camp. So at the start of the season, Scotty was still under his contract, his rookie contract, and he was told throughout the season to be patient. Meanwhile, Chicago, they were still making their moves, and there's no secret now that Jerry Krause was coveting Tony Kukoc. So Chicago had an extra, I think it was like 1.9 or 2.1, somewhere in that number that they had set aside just for Tony Kukoc. And there was no guarantee that Tony Kukoc was even going to come. So Scotty is looking at it like, okay, you got this money aside for a player that might not even be here, and yet I'm here. And each year, Scotty is progressive. He's getting better because if you read the Jordan rules, when they had got eliminated, Jordan was talking with one of the reporters, and he said that Scotty and Grant had the talent. There was players on the team who didn't have the talent. Scotty and Grant had the talent, but they didn't take it serious. So that was Jordan's beef with
Right.
them. And then this is what led to Jordan being the ball hog, as you say, because he's looking at his teammates and the ones who can help him, they're not taking it serious. And then you got the players who just can't do nothing. So Jordan felt like he had to do it by himself. Sort of like how, when Kobe went on
Mhm.
that scoring streak back in when he won his 2 scoring titles, he had no help. So when does he have self reflection? Probably when is the divorce final or when his
Why is everyone always bringing this divorce up? Oh my gosh.
you need to take that up with future. Oh, but
Back to the contract. Back to the contract.
here's my contact. Throughout the season, they kept saying, "Be patient, be patient, be patient." Scotty patience was running out, and then he was worried about his security. So he basically kind of like backed Chicago into a corner, and being that it was, I think it was getting public, it was making Jerry Krause look bad
Mhm.
and Jerry Reinsdorf. So, and this is like what during Phil Jackson's first year. So while Phil Jackson is trying to implement the triangle system, and Jordan was against it at first, um, the rest of the team, like Bill Cartwright, they was all for it because everybody wanted touches. Scotty wanted touches because he's trying to prove now that he's just as good as Jordan. So whenever
Right.
Jordan will go off for like a 40-point game, 40, 50-point game, that caused tension in the locker room. So whatever Scotty's mentioned in the book, this is no secret if you read the Jordan rules. This was like over 30 years ago. So once Phil was able to get Jordan to buy into the system, and with the team's success, everyone started to look good. And the player that benefited the most from that was Scotty.
Right.
And so it got to the point where Jerry Krause, Jerry Reinsdorf, and Pippen they had a meeting. And Reinsdorf, I forgot what Scotty did. I don't have the book with me right now. Scotty did something that pretty much pissed off Reinsdorf. So he was like, "All right, we're gonna give you your contract. You're gonna sign this contract. The contract was for 7 years. Once you sign this contract, and remember, he was warned not to sign it.
Right. Right. Right.
He
Right.
was warned not to sign it. So when he signed the contract, Jerry Reinsdorf would say, "You will play out your 7 years. We will not touch this topic again," because Jerry Reinsdorf knew that the NBA, the following season, the NBA had partnered with NBC, and that's where the new TV contract came into play. So
Right.
Scotty was gonna see the contract that he was seeking for due to the TV contract, but he signed it just before.
Right.
So they had locked him into that deal, which I believe was 7 years, 18 million, and
No.
so that
That
roughly equated to him getting paid like about 2.9 million a year. So by the time 97 came around, he was still grossly like underpaid, but this is what he signed in 91. So no, Jordan, exactly. Jordan had no say in that. They was underpaying Jordan too.
right.
When you was looking at the contract of other players, Jordan was grossly underpaid, but he made it up in his endorsements. And Scotty had endorsements too. He had his endorsement with Nike, and I think his contract was somewhere around. I think it might have been 200,000 or something like that. I can't remember
Yeah.
the number,
So
but
it
Scotty was
definitely
getting.
wasn't Michael Jordan who was to blame for his
No.
contract. But do you think that Jordan could have helped to get him out of the contract? Because that's what people were also saying during the last dance, is that Michael Jordan could have said something.
What could have Jordan did if Jordan wasn't able to keep his coach? What makes you think he's gonna get Jerry Krause, who always tries to underpay anyone? What makes you think Jordan was gonna be able to get Krause and Reinsdorf to change that contract
Right.
when they was trying to lowball him too? Jordan didn't. Jordan was only getting I think 2.9 million or something like that, or maybe right at 3 million. So the last 2 years of Jordan's years in Chicago, that's when he started seeing money, the 30 million and the 33
Right.
million
Right. Right.
just for 1 year. So
Right.
that wasn't Jordan's fault. And I just posted something to I think I sent you the link. I might have posted it somewhere else. I believe I posted it in 2 Minute Warning also. Jordan had stated that he wished he could have legally gave Scotty more money.
Oh, well, okay. So let's go back to the sentiments then, because I've never heard that, but like, it
I
sounds
just found
like
this out today.
Jordan genuinely would like to have helped Pippen. Um, now
Jordan gave
Sharon,
him one of his cars too.
yeah. Sharon has mentioned several times on the wall today that Scottie Pippen has always said great things about Michael Jordan, and this seems like a complete 180. Do you think that Pippen is genuine with whatever is happening right now? Do you think that this is like a ploy to sell books, or do you think he genuinely feels the way that he
It could
is
be
communicating?
it could be a mixture of both. Remember, he did say when he first came out of college that he thought that he was gonna try to show everyone that he was better than Michael Jordan, and you know, these Jordan haters. Yeah, he's really mad. He's mad like Jordan took his wife. That anger needs to be directed at Future, not Jordan.
What up, Eddie? What up, Eddie? um,
Yes.
yeah. So, so in your opinion, right?
Mhm.
Do you think that there's any truth to anything that Scottie Pippen is saying right now?
There's a little bit of truth, but this is stemming back. It's not new to me because I read the book. It's not new to me, but this is something that was like over 30 years ago. But I think it got buried because of Chicago's success.
Mm-hmm.
But now that it's, it's just coming out. Scotty's trying to sell bourbon. Scotty's trying to sell books or
Right.
whatever. Controversy sells. So, but why throw the the player, the man who helped you achieve what he achieved? If Scotty went to another team, if Scotty stayed in Seattle, Scotty would not be the player that he was today. That he ended up becoming. He would have not achieved that. Because then, first of all, if you want to say that, okay, they would have gotten Pippen, I mean not Sean Kemp and Gary Payton. Remember, Gary Payton was the second pick in the draft. So who's to say that Seattle was gonna be terrible during the 89-90 season and then landing the two pick and then getting Payton? Payton could have went somewhere else, drafted
Right.
by another team. So it's all a matter of fate. And also Jerry Krause, I think I touched base on it last week. uh Scottie Pippen was trade bait a couple of
Mhm.
years. 94 Kemp, 95 he tried to go to Phoenix, 97 Krause tried to send him to Toronto for Tracy McGrady. Now just imagine if they went ahead and did it
Right.
and Jordan had a young T-Mac, and T-Mac at his prime was better than Scottie Pippen. Yeah, I remember when T Mac and when they was both on the show with Nature Rituals, and Scotty had said something, and T Mac looked at him. He was like, "Nah, Scotty, I used to give you bucks too. Check the footage."
Ah,
And Scotty was
you know,
just as a he, he was just as a good a defender, but injuries, but he was a way better scorer than Scotty. I
okay.
understand he wasn't fine being second fiddle, but that's what it was. You're playing behind Michael Jordan. If Scottie Pippen was on the Knicks, he would have been second fiddle to Patrick Ewing. If he was playing in Houston, he would have been second fiddle to Akeem Olajuwon. If he was playing in San Antonio, he'll be second fiddle to Dave Robinson. Scottie was never a number one choice. He was never MVP. This is coming from one of the biggest Bull fans in the 90s. How do you know that? If you had paired Jordan with a Grant Hill or a Penny Hardaway, he would have won championships with them.
Right.
You can't blame Jordan's first 3 years and then say that, oh, when Scottie Pippen came, all of a sudden that just magically turned around Chicago. You saw the stat that I sent you in about 30 minutes ago. Scottie Pippen
Yeah.
in Jordan's first playoff game. Scottie Pippen 0 points, 2 rebounds. Jordan 50 points. Where in the hell did Scottie Pippen save Chicago in that playoff series? You're right in the bench. Yeah, he eventually
I'm
he
gonna
became great. He became great down the line thanks to Jordan and Phil Jackson for implementing that triangle system. But what has Scotty did outside of Chicago? If you want to use that Jordan never won without Pippen, Jordan majority of his career in Chicago was with Pippen. And he was winning scoring titles, leading the league in steals, making all stars, winning the MVP, winning the All-Star MVP. He was doing all this before Pippen and while Pippen was riding the bench.
so I
When
want to
Jordan
just put up
left,
this the
mhm,
stat that I'm trying to put up the stat that you're bringing up, but the screen isn't allowing me to. But I'll try to find that stat
mhm,
that you said about Pippen scoring 0 points.
0
Uh,
points in 19 minutes.
Let's see if I could do it here. Here it
He averaged
is.
7 points for that series. There we go. You got the other stat now. In case people think that is false, I want you to pull up the other thing that I sent you when it showed the team's stats.
Okay, keep going. I'll try to pull it up.
So Scottie is a great talent, but I'm a firm believer if you had paired Jordan with another player, Chicago would have still had success. Now, would they have won 6 championships? That I cannot say.
Hmm.
But
So
in another
name
word, let's
some
say
players. Name some players that Michael Jordan could have had in place of Scottie Pippen and still won some championships.
now are we talking different position or do they have to be small forwards and guards?
Um, small forwards and guards.
Small forward and guards. Well, let's go with the guy that wanted Jordan in Portland, Clyde Drexler.
Okay.
Clyde Drexler is
So
six
you
seven, just like Scotty. Better scorer than
and
Scotty. Led
better
a team
score
to the
than
finals
Scottie.
twice. Led a team to the finals twice with that Blazers squad. Now, just imagine that Jordan and Clyde Drexler would have done just as much damage as Jordan and Pippen. Akeem Olajuwon,
Okay.
another player. And I know he's a center,
Well,
but
still
Houston had a chance. Houston had a chance to pull that off with having Jordan and Drexler. They had the opportunity with that also. I don't know if my screen is blacking out. Another player, I would say, oh, I got one for you, and no one ever thought about this. Now, remember when Jordan broke his foot and he was trying to get Chicago to play him, and he accused uh, the Bulls of tanking.
right.
So they let him play, but they put him on that minutes restriction. Now, just imagine if Chicago missed the playoffs and somehow was lucky to get the number 2 pick and they drafted Len Bias
Yeah,
instead of Boston.
that would have been
The one guy, the one guy that says that would have challenged Jordan legacy. And those two were the 2 best players in the 5-star camp.
right.
And they was actually good friends. It just so happened, how does Boston, just coming from winning a world championship, was able
Get that
to
draft
pull
pick. Yeah.
that deal to get that draft pick?
Yeah. How did they get that draft pick?
It was due to
Um,
a trade that Red Auerbach had pulled off.
so Omar says to you that Clyde wouldn't have worked because they play the same position.
Now, but Clyde said he would have gladly went to the 3.
Mm,
He said that in the interview 2012 when they was doing the comparison with the 2012 Olympic team and the 92 Dream Team. And Scotty and Clyde Drexler, they was in the studio, and Clyde Drexler said he had called, he went to Portland's front office, begged them to take Jordan, said move me to the 3 and let Jordan play the 2.
wow.
And they decided to go with Sam Bowie because back then it was the belief that you needed a center.
Right. Right. Wow. Wow. What a difference that would have made, right?
Yeah,
Like
they would have
Portland would have
dominated the
had,
West.
yeah,
They
Portland would
would
have
have
dominated the
dominated the
West.
West. Mhm. And remember Houston too, because Houston had that opportunity also, but they was going with their Twin Towers.
Right. Um, so another question that we put up today
Mhm.
um was who was more angry at Jordan?
Oh
Is
man,
it
right now,
Pippen? Is it Isaiah Thomas?
LeBron
Like,
fans, Knicks fans,
yeah,
Bill Laimbeer.
who's more anti Jordan at this moment?
right now, Scottie Pippen is like going
Uh,
neck and neck with Isaiah Thomas. And Isaiah Thomas, he does his shit in a slick way that he's like, no, I'm not hating, but, and then it's always the but. And then here he
yeah,
goes,
I'm not
still
hating,
talking
but
about this
like
more.
he's yeah. So we did a poll in 2MW and um most of the people said still stuck with Isaiah. Scotty and LeBron fans were tied for second, and the Knicks
Hmm.
fans were a third at third. I personally believe that Scottie Pippen beats Isaiah Thomas at this
Well,
point.
yeah.
At this point, and the reason is the book. I mean, I feel like once you put your once you're disgruntled and you put it in ink, you're really disgruntled. You know, like you're really mad because this is going to be printed and it can't be erased. It's not like Twitter, it's not like the internet. Once you put your hate in ink, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like you're making a stance. And just to like add on that, this is not the first time that Pippen has done it. It's actually the second time. And I brought this up on the wall and I don't know if you were able to pick it up, but
No, I didn't see it.
remember in the 90s that Slam magazine, I think that interviewed Pippen about Michael Jordan, and then he kept on like referring to Jordan in these snide ways like money, or just didn't want to say his name in the article, but he was definitely mad at MJ at that point. And
Mm-hmm.
that was the first time I believe there was like real gossip about players that was out in the open with like pre-internet. So like I remember that. I don't know if anybody else did. Maybe Sharon does because I've spoken to Sharon about this before, but this is the second time Scottie Pippen has printed in ink that he does not like Michael Jordan or has some issues with him. So yeah. Omar says Zeke is
Trying
probably
to,
more of a
trying to
hater.
pull it up.
Um
Well, Z got like a 30-year head start.
yeah. So Omar says Zeke is probably more a hater, just conceals it more. Pippen is just more vocal about it. I don't know. I feel like Isaiah Thomas is bitter about that whole Olympic thing. But I don't
Very much
know.
so.
I don't know if it's like that's the same kind of hate that Pippen has. Like, imagine winning 6 rings with someone and still wanting to write a book about like how how bad they were to you, or like complaining about the last dance, right? Didn't he complain that they didn't get enough pay from the last dance or something?
Winning, yeah, he said Jordan got 10 million, which was donated to charity. So if it got donated to charity, Jordan didn't profit off this. This was something that Jordan decided to do back in 97. And it was going to come
Right,
out eventually. I had stated it
right,
in this other group yesterday that because it was brought up that, oh, Jordan gave the go ahead after LeBron and Cleveland won in 2016. I'm like, you can't necessarily say that because it was going to come out anyway. And if even if that was the case, who cares? The point is, it was
right,
coming out regardless. So,
right,
um, one of Scotty's things said that it was Michael Jordan saving the day, and he's talking down on everyone. How's he talking down on everyone? Scottie Pippen had their own segment. Steve Kerr had their own segment. Dennis Rodman
right,
had their own segment. And and what else? Yeah, like those players had their own segments in
right.
his documentary.
So I
What's
have
the
another
beef?
question.
Like,
I have another
okay,
question
the
with
younger
you, Jeremy.
generation. Mhm.
The other question to you is so this came up today about the flu game versus the back, like having
Oh,
a
the
bad
back,
back.
yes. Mhm.
Um and I believe Scotty expressed that having a bad back was worse than the flu, and that I guess I don't even know what he's trying to say with that, but I feel like it's a late kind of hate because back when they were all talking about it, he didn't have a problem with it, and just now he does. He's even in one of the most iconic pictures for the flu
Not even a
game.
problem.
Yeah. So, in your opinion, does he have any like point to the
Hmm.
whole he said slip disc game or
Yeah. A year later.
whatever? Yeah.
Well, being being a former athlete, who had a bad back injury, which cost me from winning some championships, I could agree to Scotty in some sense, but come on, let's be a little bit honest right now. We all found out that it wasn't the flu game, it was the pizza game, but the flu game just sounds so much better. They even dedicated a pair of Jordans just for that occasion, the flu games. So
Pizza game.
and with in Scotty's case, I remember game 6 of the 98 finals perfectly. Scotty hurt his back after doing a dunk in the beginning of the game. He went out, he was horrible. He was horrible that game. Jordan dragged that team to a to that win. Because then I also read that Scotty said that he only had one game left and he wasn't gonna play in game 7. I just find that funny that he says that now,
Right.
24, 25 years after it happened. That wasn't brought up. That wasn't brought up back then.
Right.
Um, it's like now it's like you just showing your hate. Blame Phil Jackson. Well, Tony Kukoc was more clutch. Tony Kukoc hit three more. He hit 3 game-winning shots during that season. One against Indiana, and I can't remember who the other 2 teams. So,
Right.
and Chicago was down 2-0. If the great Scottie Pippen was, the GOAT, why is this team down 2-0, about to go down 3-0? And if
Right.
Chicago went down 3-0, they was gonna lose. They would have lost that series. They would have not got swept because Chicago would have won game 4, but they definitely would have lost game 5, which they wound up losing game 5 anyway. And then there's no game 6 with the, iconic dunk on Ewan, disrespectful dunk, I should say. That would have never happened either. So Phil
Yeah.
Jackson
Um.
made the right call. And even Jordan called it.
Yeah. I
Show you
mean,
that, Scott.
if
Yes, he was.
anybody, if if we did a poll,
One of the
right,
roles.
and asked everybody, like, who would you want to take your last shot, Scottie Pippen or Tony Kukoc? I feel like people would still vote for Tony Kukoc.
Yeah, I'm going for Tony Kukoc.
Yeah.
Now if I want someone to guard the opposing player, I'm choosing Scotty. Scotty was a better defender than Kukoc. Kukoc was actually a defensive liability,
Right.
but he was great offensive player. He was the waiter. That's I don't know if y'all remember his nickname. That was his nickname, the waiter.
That's his nickname,
He
the
was the
waiter.
Croatian Michael Jordan. The waiter. That was his nickname.
That's what they call him. I
Yep.
missed that. I missed that. That's the
So,
waiter.
yep.
They couldn't come up with
Because he
anything
had
better
like
than the
because I'm not gonna say his game was like Magic Johnson. He could score, but he was also like a passer and whatever. So I guess that's why he got that name. But that was a name that he
right.
got while in Europe. It was also calling him the Michael Jordan in Europe at that time too,
Mm, mm. Okay. So,
because that's how good he was.
um, Nick Wright had done a whole segment to help Scottie Pippen defend himself dur- to just
Of
make
course he
points
did.
that that Pippen was better in some aspects than Michael Jordan, but like in your opinion, if you could make one point that would help Scottie Pippen with his case right now, what would it be? Like you and this is coming from you. You're the biggest Bulls and
Mhm,
MJ fan I know. How would
mhm.
you? what case would you make that would be in favor of anything that Pippen is saying right now?
In favor of Pippen.
Yes.
Um, um,
Tough one. Tough
hmm.
one.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's a tough one because you basically were implying what he's saying is true to an extent. The only thing that would help his cause would be okay. Perfect example. What was the Bulls' nicknames? It was Jordan and the Jordanaires.
Right.
That was their nickname. Bill Lambert called him that. The media called him that. I remember coming across a video, and that was the title of the video: Jordan and the Jordanaires. There was Jordan did do an interview. It was after a game. I believe it was during the '91 season,
Mhm.
and during the post game, Jordan accidentally said supporting cast, and he regretted that. But he only said supporting cast because that's what the media kept on saying. So they bombarded him with questions, and he just happened to
Right.
say that. But then when he said it, he was like, "Oh, wait a minute, no, like no." He didn't mean it that way, but the media took it and ran away with it. But in a sense, that's how Chicago. I mean, that's how the Bulls is being looked at. The star player gets all the credit and all the blame. When
Right.
Patrick Ewing missed that layup in '95, did anyone blame John Starks, Charles Oakley? No, they blamed Patrick Ewing. When we talk about LeBron and when he was what 1-4 in Cleveland, 2-4 in actually he was 1-5 in Cleveland, and 2-4 in Miami. We don't say LeBron, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh lost to the Mavericks and the Spurs. No, we say LeBron lost to the Mavs.
Right.
LeBron lost to the Spurs. When the Warriors was kicking Cleveland's ass, we wasn't saying the Warriors beat the Cavs. No, the Warriors beat LeBron. When LeBron
Right.
and Cleveland won, we don't say Cleveland won. We said LeBron won. Well, not me, not I, but the general public, they say that LeBron. So the star player gets all the way. I got one for you. Um, how many titles Kobe won? 5, right?
5.
How many does he get credit for? 2.
2. The one 2 without Shaq.
'09 and '10.
Yeah.
2010. Yes. 2 without that.
So let's stay on
That's
that
how it
theme,
works. When
right? When Jordan left and Pippen was basically
Yep,
the star of the Bulls, does he have a
which
point
is a
that
big
he did
surprise.
just as yeah, did he do just as better than expected
Yeah,
probably? Um,
let's touch base. Let's touch base on that. Yes, Chicago went 55 and 27. Yes, they finished third in the East. They was a number 3 seed.
mhm.
Because New York and Atlanta was tied for the best record. Um,
Eddie's
that's
always
another topic.
making yeah,
But
another topic for another night, Eddie.
yes, Chicago went 55 and 27, and it's not because of Scottie Pippen. This is the
Mhm.
reason why Chicago won 55 games that year.
Okay.
When Jordan retired, Jordan decided to hang it up 3 weeks before the NBA preseason started. So the roster was already put together. The only thing they had to scramble on was finding a shooting guard, and they signed Pete Myers at the very last minute. That was the only
Mhm.
thing that Chicago had to do. And I'm not saying that like Pete Myers was an all-star. Pete Myers was just the last player they signed because they needed a shooting guard, and he wind up being the starting shooting guard that season. They had Bill Cartwright, Horace Grant, Scottie Pippen, B.J. Armstrong. So you just brought back
Yeah.
four of your starting players. You still had Scott Williams. You still had Stacey King, and you just added Luke Longley, Steve Kerr. and you brought the best player from Europe in Tony Kukoc, and you bring in Bill Wennington, who I still say had one of the best shooting centers in NBA history. That guy had a soft touch, and
Yeah.
um, and basically all your important pieces, if the exception of Jordan, was there. So if Chicago was able to win 55 games without Michael Jordan and then blending those four new players to into the system, just imagine what Chicago would have did if Jordan was there. Now you got extra help. Now you got extra shooting because Paxson was still there.
Right.
BJ Armstrong was still there. Now you got Kerr. And now you got the 6'11 Tony Kukoc. Now just imagine Jordan driving to the basket, and this is when Jordan was still in his athletic prime. Chicago would
Yeah.
have beaten Houston in '94. They would have, because Houston, Chicago didn't have an answer for Olajuwon, but they had enough big bodies to throw at Olajuwon. Olajuwon would have got his, but you think that they worried about Otis Thorpe, Mad Max, Vernon Maxwell? Jordan will torch them. I could pull
Yeah.
up right now. Jordan dropped multiple 40-point games on Houston. Houston would have won. I mean, Houston won, you know, majority of those games in the 80s, but that's the regular season. Regular season and NBA playoffs is two different animals.
Right. But just to circle back, he
Mhm.
did do great without Jordan for
Yes.
that.
And Tony Kukoc does not get enough credit for that. And then also,
Uh-oh.
also
S-
Horace Grant and BJ Armstrong made their only All-Star appearances that season. Scottie's
mm.
first year as the man in Chicago.
So I think this is a good point to kind of end it. I think that
Hold on, hold
before
on, hold on. But before we end it,
yeah.
the one thing that a lot of people love to forget, they forget what Scottie did the following season. The 94-95
Uh-oh.
season, Chicago was average. I remember that. I remember I used to sit there and watch their games. And I remember a game specifically when they lost to the New Jersey Nets. This was like maybe 2 weeks before Jordan came back out of retirement. They lost a game to the New Jersey Nets. And I remember just being mad that night, going to
Mhm.
bed mad. Because, I was a diehard Bulls fan. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, they're not going to win. And then I remember coming to school like the next week and, oh, did you hear the news? What news? Oh, Jordan's coming back. I'm like, don't lie to me. It's like, no, it's
Mm.
true. Jordan's
Ah.
coming back. I was in denial at first.
You were like, "No, don't do
Yeah,
that to me.
don't do that
Don't
to me.
make me cry. I'll cry. I'll cry. I will cry.
And sure enough,
I'm tough, but I'm cry."
he came back the following week. And Chicago was barely a 500 team. They were 34-31 with about 17 games left. No, it's not just Grant. Cartwright retired. Grant left for Orlando. Paxson retired. They
Mm,
picked up Ron Harper, but Ron Harper was still recovering from his knee surgery. So he was not the same player. So he was still riding the bench. So the man was Scottie, and Scottie wasn't doing shit. It got to the point where Scottie was going to get traded to Phoenix.
mm.
The great Scottie Pippen was about to get traded to Phoenix, and I can't remember what what pulled the plug on that one, because I remember if you watch the '95 All-Star game, they talk about it.
Yeah,
And
I think we need to focus a whole episode on those years,
mhm,
that Pippen was by himself in the Bulls
yes,
as right before the book
hmm,
releases. It's coming out soon, right? In
like
maybe a
in another
couple
week or
weeks,
so.
another week,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, week or two.
So
It's gonna be this month.
if we happen to have another episode before the book comes out, let's
Hmm.
focus on the years that Pippen did not have Jordan around and put him in some good let's shine some good light on that or look at the
Well, he
flaws.
won. I mean, he won '94 MVP in them doofy
Yeah.
red clown sneakers. So that's one
Yeah.
thing.
I
But
remember
also
that,
in
you know.
Minnesota.
So let's revisit those years before the book comes out and hopefully we can get our hands on the book days in advance before another episode and just
Yes.
go through the hate. And I want
Mhm.
like I can anticipate, like I can feel it. Like I know you guys say Isaiah Thomas hates MJ, but to put this in writing, like you gotta have some hate, some pent up hate
They
that you
might as
just
well
haven't
be
been.
best buddies right now. They must be BFFs. Him, Pippen, and Lambert.
Yeah, 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 yeah. You know,
Oh, by the way, I got like a whole bunch of memes and stuff like that. Like the disrespect that Scotty used to get from his competition.
mm,
Like Bill Lambert, anybody but Jordan. We're not even worried about Scottie Pippen. Isaiah Thomas on NBA open court. Scotty can't say a word. Okay, I can understand if Jordan don't want me on the dream team,
right.
but Scottie Pippen need to go play in the park. That's what he said.
Oh my gosh.
Larry Johnson, when they had their beef when they was in New York, Scottie Pippen's best play is pass the ball to number 23.
I mean,
Shaq, oh, those rings, you wasn't in the scouting report. You was never in the scouting report.
I think that was a lie. That one was a lie. That one was a lie because Scottie Pippen. I mean, it's not like he wasn't effective at
No,
all.
he wasn't effective, but I'm just saying this is what like the competition. This is what they viewed him as. Like they wasn't afraid of Scottie Pippen. They was afraid of Jordan, not Scottie. Scottie was a player they thought that people could contain because remember he was a little bit mentally weak. He wasn't even Jordan got on him at one time. Scottie, we have a headache today, and this was in practice.
Oh my gosh. Oh man. I missed that one. But here's the thing. A lot of people in TMW know that like I'm pro Scottie Pippen. I always kept saying
Mhm.
Scottie Pippen over Barkley.
Yep, I
Um
remember that.
yeah, and I do think he was a great player. I think all those trollings from the opponents
Yeah.
was just trolling. He was an effective player.
Yes, he was
And
an
maybe
effective player. I don't want people thinking that
yeah.
um I hate Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen is one of my favorite players. He is the second most important Chicago Bull behind Michael Jordan and just
Mhm.
above Derrick Rose. Um, but
Oh, that's a good one.
that's a good
Who's
one.
the
Yes.
more important? That's another poll for another day. But
And the only
let's
reason why I got Scotty above Derrick Rose is for the simple fact that Scotty won championships with Michael Jordan. Derrick Rose didn't win anything, but Derrick Rose did win the MVP, and he did get Chicago to the Eastern Conference Finals
right.
with barely anybody.
Right, but that is a question. Who's the more important bull,
Mhm.
Pippen or Derrick Rose?
Yes, I'm
Maybe
curious to
we'll
see
post
what people will
we'll
think.
post that tomorrow in the group to see where the group leans, and that'll be a series of posts that we do
Mhm.
up until the next episode, when we review Pippen's years without Jordan.
Mhm.
But this was a fun show. I don't know what's wrong with Scotty. Don't know.
The hate, the
This is
hate, lost
this
his
is gonna be
wife.
forever. Like I don't know if Jordan even cares, but if I was Jordan and I did care, I would never talk to him for forever. Like it's not like you.
He probably won't. He's not talking to Barkley. He hasn't spoken to
Mm,
Barkley in years. After what Barkley said, one thing, I think it was on TNT when he said that Jordan's surrounded by yes men, and he hasn't got a word from Jordan since. I think Jordan block game is strong. He
yeah, yeah, yeah,
right
yeah,
now.
yeah. He needs to do like a TED talk on how to shut people out. Like don't
Yep.
let them back in the door. Once they say one wrong thing, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Um. So yeah, next episode. Maybe we could do it
I
next
agree,
week,
Sharon.
same time.
He's dead wrong.
Um Next week, same time, we're gonna focus on Scottie Pippen and the years that he played without Michael Jordan, just to see the good, the bad, and the ugly. Or let's
Mhm.
not make two bads. The good, the okay,
Mhm.
right, and the ugly. Just to see what if we can shed some great light on
Yeah.
those. in that time, because maybe that's what he needs. He needs more people to focus on him, do
He
specials
needs a
on him.
hug. He needs a hug.
Yeah, he
That's what.
needs a hug. So let's do that. Let's be the hug that Pippen needs next week,
And you
right?
know what? I think I forgot to mention this. I
Mhm.
think what it is. I think part of the hate is when we talk whenever Chicago's six championships is always mentioned is always about Jordan, and you rarely hear about Scotty. And I think that's where some of the hate is coming from. Also, like Scotty just wants to be, in a sense, he's kind of acting like Jerry Krause. It's like you want to be accepted, you want to be acknowledged.
But
The
he
one man he
is. I don't know how much
hated.
more you need. Like, listen, Jordan sells, right? Mentioning Jordan
Yes.
at the forefront of anything sells anything, right? It's not
I
that
only had
you
one pair of Pippins. I've had a whole bunch of pair of Jordans.
well, maybe we should find some old Pippins and buy them, right? Maybe we need to,
The Arab Tempo, the one that
yeah,
air on the side. That's one of them.
let's go get them. Let's
Yeah.
let's let's be the hug that Pippen needs. 2MW, are you with me? We're all going to support Pippen, be Pippen's greatest fan. Let's post about him. Let's add him
Mm.
on Twitter. Let's do what we can
I
to
feel
let him
like
know.
adding at Twitter so bad.
Don't, don't, don't. Everybody
I got,
but Jeremy
I
at
got, I
yeah.
got heat. I got heat
You
right.
lay back. You lay back. We'll do the Pippen loving.
Yeah.
You sit back and
It
watch.
works.
You know.
By the way,
Um
Peyton Manning is my goat. One of my goats. I just let that be known.
let that be known. Um anyway, before I go, I want to thank everybody that tuned in to the show today. I also want to thank Jeremy for making this topic the forefront
Always a
of
pleasure.
our content for now. We'll do another show next week. And yeah, focus on Pippin, right? Let's be the hug that Pippin needs. All right. This is 2MW. This is not Card Chaos. This is just talking about Jordan rules. And we'll see you next week. Thank you, everybody, for joining.